Well, good morning, everybody. It's Neil Foley from the Business Growth Club here. Really privileged this morning to have two long-standing Growth Club members, really interesting guys, Aaron and Michael. Good morning to you two.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. And Michael and Aaron set up All Is Fluxed, which is all about branding, and we're going to find out more about what branding is all about and the relevance of branding for why you should be interested, and some of the common misconceptions. Does that sound like a reasonable agenda?
Yeah, I think that sounds great, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So let's kick off and set the scene to start with. I mean, how did you two guys get together?
Well, it's quite an interesting one, actually. We actually met in an event in Norwich, and I just happened to mention where I was based. My background is in video, so I did that at university and then went on to become a freelancer doing animation and video. And then I bumped into Aaron at an event, and we kind of got chatting, didn't we? And we kind of... I happened to mention where my office was, which was the Enterprise Centre, the UEA. So
you didn't know each other before you came here?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. We came into the building as separate companies and started to work together, really, and started to trade each other's services and collaborate, and realised sort of together that we were on the same.
And what were you doing here then, Aaron?
I ran a sort of a purely design-based business,
okay.
So I did a lot of graphics design work.
Right.
But I think the big thing, the kind of connection that we had, which I only kind of see now, almost a year and a half, 2 years in to our kind of friendship and building the business, is that Aaron sort of came in from the very much sort of the branding point of view. You know, his graphic design, his experience with building a brand experience for people. And then where I kind of came in was from the story side of things. So my background was in. Telling a story and editing that story, and actually, like, especially with film, which I think is exactly the same principles in film as it is in branding, which is what is the absolute message that you're trying to get across when you watch a film, and the best films are the ones that don't tell you what to think, but make you think a certain way. You watch something, oh my God, that was amazing. I learned, I feel like I completely understand that person's journey, and so I think when we kind of came together, it was like we started to discuss on a business level about branding, about storytelling, how you kind of communicate really succinctly, these certain messages and make people feel a certain way. I think I only kind of thought about that like the other day. I was thinking that's kind of where we came together. And then we've then kind of started to build a company sort of based on those sort of fundamentals, I think.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. And it was... it seems so obvious looking back on it now, actually, about what we were both doing. But at the time, it was a conclusion that we didn't necessarily come to ourselves to start with either. We were both down in London on at a brand acceleration conference with Daniel Priestley's conference, and we had a strategy session with him afterwards, talking about our own businesses and how we were going to move our own things forward. And
suddenly it became obvious.
It became obvious. Yeah, he made the suggestion of, actually, do you know what? Why aren't you guys working together? And I think it clicked with both of us at that point, and we kind of went away. And
I think it had been the elephant in the room, because we're both very respectful of like our own separate businesses, and we're both quite sort of driven people. So it was a bit like neither of us wanted to sort of say, what about if we were together? So that kind of forced this sort of 2 or 3 hour conversation in a coffee shop down the road after the meeting with Daniel, and we kind of were like, okay, so what were the type of business that we would want to build if we were going to go in together?
Yeah, it allowed us to objectively sort of look at our own frustrations with our own businesses, but also with understanding, not that we were just trying to improve, that actually we were going to stop them and come together, and we were able to kind of do something for which could solve both our problems and kind of.
And it's obviously that was a year ago. A bit over a year ago.
A bit more than a year ago. So what would that have been? That would have been we started the
November
company
2016.
2016 was when we started it, and it's probably a couple of months before that, sort of leading up to actually. How do we then transition this? Yeah, how do we? So, but I think what we did there as well is when we're both a bit like that, and for our detriment sometimes, we really questioned. Okay, so if we were going to go together, are we just going to sort of fold in the two businesses and kind of trundle along as the same, or what is the business that we really want to build? And we sat down then and said we want to build, and basically what we pitched, and we pretty much stuck to it, is what All Is Flux is and what it sort of stands for, I think, which is leading on brand. It's about focusing on the customer, or like our customer, but also our customer's customer.
Sure.
You know, exactly whoever we're helping, whatever company we're helping, they're focusing on their customer. And I think, by and large, we've sort of stuck to those. Definitely the kind of the values of who we are and what we want to do. And I think it was more the approach and that we sort of the certain things we didn't want to do, certain pitfalls we'd seen other kind of agencies fall into. And what we didn't want to do that. So even now we're always trying to go like, okay, so is this right? Is this right for where we want to go?
Yep.
You know, rather than just kind of always
questioning.
Always questioning.
Well, I know you're very much into process, and maybe we'll get onto some of that in terms of processes you've put together to try and define.
Yeah. I think that's. And I think that's what we're trying to sort of, it's really refine a process. So therefore, it's not just reliant on mine and Aaron sort of all the time. Eventually, we want to kind of bring other people in and be able to really quickly get our other staff members up to speed.
I think what's important to understand is where the name All Is Flux comes from as well, is understanding that we're always, the thing that we sort of speak to our customers, our clients about is how you've always got to be open to change that happens, open to opportunity. Yep. And All Is Flux comes from a Greek quote, Heraclitus, saying that the only constant in the world is change. And I think understanding how we kind of project a direction, and it's always objective based that when we work with our clients, but actually keep building in that flexibility to say that actually if this opportunity comes along, then we can your business is better positioned to be able to deal with those changes and deal with those opportunities. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to just railroad through to your 5-year plan.
And is it also, I'd always envisaged from when you came up with the name, is the fact that you need to be constantly changing and evolving.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, well, I've done branding. You know, I've it's a bit like saying I've done my target marketing. You know, it's got to be constantly evolving, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a reflection of the kind of time we live in, where there's constant change, but also there's never been a better way to kind of measure how your brand, like, you know, with social media and stuff like that, the data that's coming out of that and stuff like that. You know, being able to actually refine and test and things like that. So there's definitely a reflection of the time there. And I think also some of the frustrations because we kind of, the way we talk about it, and since we've heard other people talk about it that way, and I think we just came up with a way to describe it. We were sort of saying many businesses get bogged down in the tactics. So they go, okay, we need a video for social media. We really need that. Video is really hot right now. You know, we need a video. Oh, you know, we need a new website, or you know, we need to start blogging here, and like jumping about, and the way that when we sat down, even in that initial kind of conversation about us, we were like, you know, my background was creating those tactics, creating the videos. Aaron was designing those, you know, designing a logo, designing a leaflet, and we both kind of sat down and said,
we were fueling that shiny object syndrome. We were kind of part of the cause of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but then we also said that's part of our frustration of where we were and what we didn't want All Is Flux to be, which is like the frustration is that people want that, and you know what, it makes sense. Like, it's easy because it's something tangible almost. I want a video, I pay this amount of money and I get a video, and it's like, but what should be in your video? Is your video right? You know, like, should it be 4 minutes or should it be 1 minute? Like, where are you getting this judgment from? And up to that point, you know, with the people, you know, it's kind of like most people just go, oh yeah, I think it should be this and stuff like that. It's like, well, what we really want to do is focus on before that, actually understand like who you are, who your target customers, where they are, what's your strategy, what's your marketing strategy.
I guess most of them, I mean, in my involvement in businesses, most people would struggle with that. When you said to them, you know, what's your target market? Why do you think it should be 1 minute or 4 minutes? I don't think most people know, do they?
I think everything. No. I think what we're able to do is give them a framework, and because of
see
all
the
those,
value of that.
all those uncertainties, and everything's based on assumptions to start with as well. So they have to be based on a certain set of assumptions that are then moulded through experience and then through external data that comes in to be able to craft the answer of what we come up with, really.
Yeah.
And is that part of the education process? If you go back, I know one of the things that we wanted to get out of today is, you know, what is branding, rather than the shiny new video, or we better do a blog, or we need to be on social media. I mean, what's your definition of branding?
I think that's a really good question. I think, to answer sort of the first part of it, it's definitely branding is about who, what your company is, what it stands for, what its values are. And I think the big thing I think is actually what emotions does your customer associate with you, because that can be good and bad. So your branding, whatever you think it is, it's about meaning. What does that mean what does your company mean to your customer? And
do you mean subconsciously, as you know?
I think subconsciously, consciously. Yeah, like if I say to you now Nike, instantly everyone has like an emotional connection. It may be. Especially when my skateboarding days, it would have been like, oh god, like, you don't wear Nike,
Can we talk more about that?
And his warm milk. We're coming on to this.
Okay. When you start mentioning the cowboy boots, that'll be the So it's that kind of it's on an emotional level, it's on a subconscious level, and I think it's on a. It's about really kind of what your brand means to that person's life. That's kind of it. That's kind of what.
And how do you find that out?
It's a really good question. So
I think that the education point of view that you were saying, or the notion of education to start with, is one of them, and it's about flipping the customer's perception. So, or our customer's perception, that it's not brand isn't what you tell other people or tell your customer it is. It's how they perceive it. It's how they come into contact with it. So you can craft it however you. Craft it however you want, and that's kind of where we kind of come in, really. Right. How you position that brand, and Michael will say about that in a second. But like, it's how you craft that to be able to directly communicate what you do, and it's how it's received. And the point of how it's received is actually where your brand is. That's what your brand is.
Yeah. This is a slightly negative anecdote, but it happened like last week, and I just thought this is like absolutely perfect. So there's a marketeer online, and I don't know them. I don't really have any contact with them. But they ran an ad that said, in the last 24 hours, one of my customers on my course has made £10,000, whatever it's like. Oh, yeah. Great, that's really great. I then saw it the next day, pushed out to me again, and I thought, this is a bit dodge. Forgot about it. 4 days later, it came back again.
Really? Yeah.
So instantly, it's like damaging their brand, because they're telling a certain message, and yet my reaction already is like, this is a bit dodgy. I then read the comments at this point, because I thought, that's quite interesting. Looked at the comments, and the highly rated, whatever it was someone basically saying, look, I've seen this over a week now, I think you should change your ad. And the person wrote back to them saying, this ad was correct at the time of me posting it, this 24 hours, and I'd love it if Facebook could have a way to update that date, but it can't. And basically just trying to tell them what it is, and this person quite rightly is saying, this is the message that you're giving. Yes. And that person going, oh no, it's not. And it's like, no, you don't. That is not marketing. You can't tell someone what to think. That person should have gone, completely understand, and either it's either performing really well and they don't care. It's still performing well, but for them to kind of argue, and there was a couple of back and forths with it. It wasn't just one. It was, and I was like, you're trying to tell someone what that means to them, and you can't do it.
No,
you can only.
It's that perception versus reality, isn't it? Perception's the only thing that matters, isn't it? In the story, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's with marketing message, but that's with brand as a whole. And I think.
So where do you stand on things like in the last few days? I noticed Lush have got into a lot of trouble, haven't they? Did you see that one?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is, isn't it? Because they've come up with this. The concept is valid in terms of the undercover police thing that happened years ago, mind you. But there is an inquiry going on at the moment with it.
So,
but they've alienated a lot of people, haven't they?
They've brushed it across as a one-size-fits-all, though, haven't they?
Yes.
They've just brought the whole of the police community in. So
that's a really interesting one. Yeah, I think that's a really difficult. I think exactly one-size-fits-all is the big thing of it.
But I guess they thought of it as because they're an ethical company, and they make a big, strong stance about being an ethical company in terms of their products and the rest of it.
But and I think I don't know, but it's kind of like if someone then smashes one of those shop front windows, who are you going to call? It's the police, and so that policeman coming to and helping you out, it's not that same police, the same part of the establishment that was doing that over there. So that's probably why. So they
just try to be too clever.
I don't know. I mean, they've definitely thought about exactly their type of customer and what those values are, and that's right. But exactly, they're probably thinking. I don't know enough about it to really get into it, but they've grouped in people valuing all policemen as the same, when actually
do you know
the public
I
don't.
think it is? I think the problem is on each side of the line when you've got the business doing it and the business and the consumer or the audience. I think it's understanding what side of the line to drop emotion, and I think if you drop the emotion on the business side of things, then it can become difficult. I think because if you're then putting too much of your agenda in there, like we're saying, the important thing is actually on the audience side, the audience perception. So if you can craft your message in a way that tweaks the audience, that kind of gives some sort of life to the emotion in the audience, that's fine. I said, but if you put too much emotion into our side of things, into the business side of things, then that can become problematic.
And I guess there's a danger of being political as well, isn't there? There are enormous.
I mean, they are obviously
like
a political kind of business as well, aren't they? Really, they're dealing with that. But I think that's where the danger is when emotion and when politics come together on the side of the business. That's where it can alienate too many people and
the same as the MasterCard one. Did you see the MasterCard one with the World Cup?
No.
I mean, MasterCard, obviously a colossal company, supporting the World Cup and World Food Programme. So they've put up a competition with, I think it's 2 footballers, when every time they score a goal, then they'll feed so many children.
The pressure.
Well, and also the ethics of it, to say, so sorry kids, so some of the social media is you can't eat because Neymar didn't score, or I'm really sorry Messi didn't come up with the goods today, so you're going hungry. And it's backfired massively because concept I understand, and they are very big charitable givers apparently.
Yeah.
But linking the two suddenly thinks actually that's all wrong, isn't it?
You wonder the filtering process. So like, if it's like a boardroom decision, everyone's all hyped up.
Well, that's where you come back to this saying what is brand, because people clearly struggle with it, don't they? Because you wouldn't have your brand associated with score a goal and we feed somebody.
No,
you wouldn't. Nobody in their right mind would do that, would you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think they're. I mean, that they've got their reasons for doing it, but I think that's the way you phrased that there is quite an interesting one. And when we're always trying to question, it's like if you were our customer, that would say we're not sure. You know, in our heads we're going, we're pretty sure you're not. But we need to go on some discovery and understand who your brand is, and then get those actionable things, because you never know. That could be. Is that going to be like one of the things? Actually, the way that your brand is built, you are doing this, you are doing that, or you won't do that, or you will do that, and it's kind of like, how do you get all this kind of intangible? Brand is very much felt as an intangible thing, or it goes from one way or the other. It's either incredibly intangible and kind of like, you just have to kind of go with it, or it's a logo. It's like one or the other, isn't it? And actually, it's about, and that's kind of where our passion comes in. Is actually how do we build a brand sort of in a structured process that actually has those actionable outcomes, where we can say, okay, based on the evidence we have to hand now, these are the decisions we should be making and shouldn't be making. And something like that would probably, would hopefully be flagged up as saying, it's a great idea and it aligns to your values of charitable giving, but actually
what are the problems
going to come out of that? And actually it doesn't align with all your values or the personality of your brand that you're trying to get across. So
it comes back to that bit about being, as you said with all is Flux, that you need to constantly be thinking about your actions as to whether they're aligned with your brand, because then MasterCard wouldn't have made that decision.
I think that's the big issue, is because brand and what we talk about values and your position within the market. Actually, a lot of companies, especially on the sort of smaller end, they don't spend the time, because they think, oh no, it's all right. Like, I know what my company is. I've got my really nice logos. And just kind of go in and say, okay, well, let's write some copy for our website and stuff like that. But actually, the difference between someone trying to write copy for their website and going in through our kind of system and then post it is so vastly different, because we help them develop all their key messaging, we help them develop their values. They're so clearly defined gains. Your customer gains this, and this. That you have all the structure. It's kind of the getting rid of the blank page syndrome. You know, we literally have like the brand toolkit that we then say, here we are. This is our starting point. And these are the key pains your customer has. These are the solutions that your product or service brings, and these are the gains that your customer will get. And that kind of gives everyone on the same page at the same time. Right? Yep. Okay, that's a starting
very valuable,
point.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And
but
it's so different.
That's kind of a living document as well. That's a living thing that it always has to be updated. It always has to be evaluated, because if an opportunity comes along which just makes sense for your business, Mike and I were both on our individual paths. We thought that we were looking to push ahead with our two businesses, and and this opportunity was presented to us in a very aspirational kind of way that it was, but still it got hold of both of us, and we realised that actually just 1 and 1 wasn't going to make 2 here. It was going to make something which was potentially pushing forward. Significantly better. So I think.
Yeah,
everything that's ever created has to be kind of
it's right for things. Now based on it's basically science.
Correct at the time of
printing. Or people whenever you get into like discussion about science, and people are like well, how do you know that the sun is this old or that? And it's like our current thinking, all of the information we have to us, accessible to us today, we believe this, and then tomorrow, it could change.
Another day.
That's all you can act upon. Is what is your knowledge right now, but it doesn't stop you from digging deeper and looking further
and challenging and questioning.
That's the exciting thing, and that's what I'm excited about with all this Flux in the future. How we're bringing more of a scientific.
And how do you handle this then? Because I mean, I'll be very stereotypical here. You're two creatives, aren't you? Where you think very creatively. And typically that wouldn't necessarily... He wears cowboy boots, drinks warm milk. Aaron rides a bike, presumably.
I do.
Yeah, so, it's very predictable. But how do creatives be this business-minded and using scientific approaches and trying to use logic? Is there a contradiction there? I mean, how do you manage that?
That is a really good question. And I can't really say it any better than I think that through our experience, and I think, I don't know, I really love all the systematization of it all and that sort of side, and then what we're talking about at the start of this podcast, what our usual process is, we kind of chat about something. Then we'll actually then have like a day where we just throw the ideas out, and what's the best way to do it. And I think you kind of have the kind of really big. Aaron has the really big kind of comes in and jumps and does the stuff, and then I like to go away and okay, so how do we then boil that down? And then I come back and we discuss it, and then we kind of
tidy up the creative mess that I've made.
So you're quite disciplined. So it is a good marriage in terms of. Marriage in the biblical sense, but it's marriage in the sense of different skill sets. Because if you're the process guy, Michael.
Yeah, I think we kind of we tend to flip backwards and forwards on it, but I think that's one of the things, one of the unknowns that we just had no idea about working together. That's part of the thing. We'd worked together very briefly and became friends, but actually we didn't know how we were going to work together. And the dynamic of what has made all this Flux and given it kind of what we get fed back, the reputation it kind of has in the industry amongst our peers and stuff, and I think it's very positive. It does.
And is this where the toolkit came from that you mentioned earlier, Michael? In terms of describe to me what the toolkit is then.
So basically it's our system that so the brand toolkit is the kind of the outcome for us. It's like the kind of the results that basically we give to the client, which is like a working document that basically has everything that as we understand about their brand, but it's really refined into certain sections. So it kind of covers their values, it covers their key messaging, it covers their wider messaging, and it's basically like a document that they can basically consult at any time, like whatever their decisions they're making, because we are involved in certain aspects of their marketing, but there's certain things that like we don't have much involvement with, and we want them to be able to still be able to have all that value that they've got from us, but be able to use it on their own. So that's the kind of outcome, but it's through our system, which is kind of built upon this kind of quite in-depth discovery, which has specific tools that we've designed and developed, and that basically we sort of see it almost like as a funnel. It starts off very, very big and brainstormy, and then over time it refines right down to like literally actionable outcomes, like structure for your brand, kind of like the foundation to be able to then build anything from it. If you want to build a video, here's a good starting point. You've got your key messaging right here.
That makes sense.
And then go out from there. So every decision around that video can then be referenced back to, well, this is what you're saying your current brand is. So it's that decision.
It's a really good filter, isn't it? Just a check, kind of a reality check of where you're at, and like I say, it can continuously, it can move, but it's...
and it's a bit like your design days, isn't it? Whether your font is you use this, and the colour you use is that, and it's that sort of structure, isn't it?
I think Yeah, in the bigger sense, it's kind of a trust filter as well, because you're building consistency within every element of the brand. And I know that's kind of, in the traditional sense, what brand guidelines are anyway, but I think more from understanding how people perceive your brand is I think they can be slightly unsettled if things are done in a slightly different way, or in the simplest sense of logos being stretched and pixelated or anything like that. I mean, those are points where you start to question whether it's right to align yourself with that company. If things aren't looking in the way that it should do, then or in the way that you're expecting it to, there's something quite disconcerting about it. And I think that's where we try and make everything this consistency across every single touch point.
Yeah,
that
Makes
people come into
perfect
contact with the brand.
But that's exactly it. Like taking that concept of the sort of the kind of the stretch logo and delivering kind of brand guidelines, what's termed brand guidelines, which I think has been up to now. A lot of that is like this is how to display your logo, this is how not to squash it. These are the colours you use. Taking that one step further and actually saying, no, this is your brand guidelines, that's your design guidelines.
Yeah,
so that's the kind of
very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what sort of companies are you working with?
It's quite an interesting one. I think we over this last year or two, we've been really to refine who our target customer is and who we're working for.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I don't think we've been advising we're speaking to lots of different people, and they've said, well, look, what industry do you work with? Where are you focusing your where you're targeting your industry? And for one thing, I think if we fell into one industry working with people, we'd probably get quite bored quite quickly. Although we can take kind of ownership of understanding it. What we always say is that, which is the truth, our customers know their industry better than us. So for us to then proclaim to be industry experts on something, we're kind of saying, we're better than you. And that's why we tend to work with businesses across a vast range of sort of things. But
it's quite a specific profile of it.
It's a specific profile, and it's well, this is who we're working with at the moment. Obviously, things change, but really owner-led companies who have got the ability and the decision-making kind of ability to be able to take the next steps with their business, and they've got the aspirations to push themselves to the next level. And I think what has happened is typically they're a business which has grown organically over 5, 10, 15 years, have got to a certain point and have plateaued. And
is that the catalyst? I mean, is there a catalyst you can see that for them to say, actually, we need to be really thinking about...
I think because the business owners are so aspirational, they want to take that step, they've got that frustration that they need to move on, and I think they've got to a point where they've pushed their product to a level, or their service to a level, where
I think
it's not got the ability to move forwards without their kind of their brand catching up as well.
I think it is frustration. It's quite a big part of it, I think, because the way we kind of talk about it is like, a lot of our customers come to us and are like, we have got really good product. We've refined this, and that's very much seems to be the life cycle of a business. You kind of, you start building a business, and then you kind of really hone in on what your product is, and you kind of get to the point your product's amazing, but you're kind of going, my customers like, there's often the frustrations around, I'm doing a lot of tendering, I'm always one of three, they're always trying to drive me down on price, and it's those kind of things that are often the things that like you're going, okay, they're kind of warning signs that basically means your product is really, really good, you're delivering really immense value, but you're not reaching customers that really value it and understand what your value is. And I think that's kind of where we really help businesses to accelerate their business and their brand by basically going, okay, let's take your product, now let's really look at who your target customer is.
Really fine-tune that message and the communication actually to make sure it directly connects, or it elevates to a point that it opens up a whole new...
So it moves it away from just price as well.
Completely, yeah.
That's our big thing.
Yeah.
Like and the type of brands that we work with as well, because we have, we do work with customers that do very much compete on price. That's one of the things. But where that's always a telltale sign that that's going to be a struggle. Like, we can deliver more value if we're able to help them build a premium product that people want to pay more money for.
Yep.
And what's really interesting, we've had a customer for many years, and they came to us a couple of years ago, and we went through them, and our big message was, you can't compete on price. You need to. And they said, oh no, that's the market. That's where we're at. A year later, they came back to us, and we sat down with them and said, okay, what's changed? And the first thing they said is, we can't compete on price. We were like,
Now we can move on.
yeah, because they deliver so much more value. You know, it isn't, and I think that's where I think, especially maybe people who are a little bit early on in their business journey, they almost are ashamed to charge more. And we were talking to someone the other day about it, and I said it's not about being greedy, it's not about taking more money, but it's actually like, if you can charge a bit more, you can bring in better staff, so therefore you can serve a better product, so therefore they actually get a better deal by paying that bit more, you know, and it's as simple as that. And everything that comes along with that, you know, everyone benefits. So I think that's the big thing. But I think with us, it's working with companies that really want to push themselves to like a premium brand, or really want to, you know, really get it. And I think our big thing is, and one of our clients said it to us. Well, said it to Aaron. We'd been working with them for 3 or 4 months, and neither of us are football guys, but
you were looking for a better analogy.
But it works.
But yeah.
He said this was during the set. We were filming a video for them. He'd already he'd gone through the kind of our branding process, and we were helping him to reposition his brand. And he said, "I get it, what you guys do." He said, you take companies from the Championship to the Premier League.
All right, okay.
And I was like, that's good. That's a good
analogy.
Yeah.
As long as they're not expecting kind of £1 million pay packets every day or something like the Premiership football.
Yeah, that would.
So that's kind of like who the type of.
And they and from a locality viewpoint, are they in East Anglia or are they anywhere? Or?
Yeah, I mean east of England really, and some down in London, and that's kind of where I guess we've never been certain whether to kind of have that pure focus and ownership on companies in Norwich. We've had a really good relationship, and we've had a really good kind of reception from the companies in Norwich. But then equally, we've made connections with businesses in London, and been amazed by what we can deliver as well. And that's kind of given us the confidence to understand that we can.
I think so.
The problems
I think
are shared all around the country. They're not just. This isn't just a regional-based kind of pain that business leaders kind of have. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Yeah.
I think there's always a strong connection with Norwich, and I think that will never go. But I think what we talked about early on is like, let's kind of cook our formula. Let's like really refine who we are and our process. You know, and Norwich, we're already on the scene in Norwich. We know a lot of people. Let's get going there and really work there, and then look to step out and do more stuff. But we've already, I say, like, you can't help but then make connections down in London and stuff like that. But we haven't sort of actively moved our focus on to London.
I think the thing is, because actually having our own businesses beforehand and actually knowing people and growing up here obviously as well, but it's about building that kind of network before you need to use it, and I think that's a really important thing. So now we're expanding, we're making more of a network around outside of the region, and it's not like we're immediately going to move away. It's we're kind of building up those connections, and then when the time is right and when it feels right to kind of expand to that next level, which it's kind of. It does feel like it's on the edge of kind of wanting that next.
Well, the real momentum
stage.
is there.
The momentum's there, and it's being well received. The momentum's there, and the buzz is there from us to take that next step as well.
I think it's really exciting. What I think we both enjoy the most, and I think talking about the type of people that business leaders that are thinking about their brands and trying to push it. I think what we do with our customers is take them on a journey. We really like, and it's either, you know, sometimes they're like, yeah, that's exactly who I thought it was. But I think what we always say is it actually taking the time to actually focus on your brand with us or on your own. It's about sort of gaining that focus and insight, and actually that is so important to like actually take that time to step back and really question everything, because I think every business owner has a thought on, I know what my brand is. But actually, to sort of take that time to take a step back and actually think about it, and also I think understand, you know, how much to invest in branding, because I think there are certain businesses that we had a really great conversation with a business just starting out, and she was sort of saying, well, you know, I'm not sure if I need to do some design work and this sort of stuff like that. And actually, I sort of had a really good chat with her, and I said, actually, there's two things that you could focus on right now that would have the biggest impact. And you don't need to really spend loads and loads of money now, but in a few years' time, like you're already on that journey. You're going to want to probably do it really, really well. And I think like for her, it was about focusing on her offering, and also really what that brings to the customer, like really understanding what that messaging is,
having
and what
full
those
ownership
gains.
over that, because when there's questions still there, I think it's great to put things out and test things out, to be able to get feedback and learn, but actually really taking control and owning, saying, right, okay, I do this, even if you know it's going to change, I do this now, and this is the service or the product that I'm going to put out there now, to then take my feedback and take the kind of get the feedback off the customers to be able to make those changes, and then I'm going to iterate, and I'm going to put out the next kind of 2.0, and then I'm going to be working
and then that's what businesses do, don't they?
Yeah.
And I know you're being very modest, but you've actually worked with some really significant sized businesses in Norfolk, haven't you, and delivered some great results, because I know that from what you've told me before.
We have, yeah.
So there's some startups as well, or some newer businesses. So you're open to talk to anybody?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we just love it. Like this thing. Like helping startups and stuff like that, and mentoring some people, some students
people
from the
university,
UEA.
Okay.
I think it's really exciting to kind of help. If we could, would help anyone we can, really, because I think it's really important to kind of help people, as I say, like put their energy into and resources. And for most startups, it's time, obviously, and money. But it's actually these things are going to get you going to get you to where you want to be quicker. By doing these four.
What we've done, I mean, it works. We've worked with a few startups, but really, I think where we seem to attract a certain type of business is the ones who have been out there and who have really got a good understanding of what their product is, and they've developed that. It has had that time for organic growth, and they've got to a point where they're at a sticking point. That plateau part, Whereas startups don't necessarily have that, but we have worked with some because basically we've been so excited about what they do that we just want to get involved in it, and it's something we want to be part of, because actually it's nice just doing something that we enjoy, which everything that we do enjoy.
But some things, I mean, you not everything's about money, is it?
Yeah,
no, it's not.
That's in essence what you're saying, isn't it?
No.
It's not.
I think the thing with startups, and it's quite an interesting one. This kind of what we've kind of realised is we certainly work with startups, but where startups, they're changing and they're pivoting so quickly that actually, our conversation with them last week about who they are, you have changes so quickly in that week. So it's a different beast.
Yes.
To manage a brand of a startup until it sort of settles down. It needs to almost sort of settle down and bed in.
Needs to find its niche, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and almost like draw that line in the sand of like, this is who we think we are right now, and then we go, okay, great.
Be comfortable to live with it for a while. That's the thing as well, rather than say, right, I'm going to change, because that, I mean, it's just exhausting, but it's kind of just trying to keep a hold of something like
and
that.
There is some evidence, isn't there? They say in terms of longevity in business, it's about stickability. It's about just keep going. Rather than the shiny new thing over here, is actually just keep going and define it, and then just keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's where we were best. Get that line in the sand, and then go, okay, now we can move you left, or we can move you right, we can move you up, we can move you down, sort of thing. It's like, without that line in the sand, it's very, very difficult. That sort of is more like a wave or something going along, and you're not really sure where it is right now. And that's a very different kind of project to work on, which we still do.
I think actually we do sit back a lot of times and realise actually what a privileged position we're in to work with such a vast range of companies, because
it adds to your experience as well, doesn't it?
And for us to be able to build our business, I mean, we're kind of a year and 8 months, year and 9 months into all this Flux. I mean, years before that and everything, but for this company and understanding what we want this to be, we're working with companies who are going through similar changes to us, and being able to take that experience to transfer to other businesses and also to our own. I think it just, you mentioned before about the kind of the couple of steps ahead sort of thing.
I think, well, just going back to the other point, which is like where we've been very lucky is we've basically sat down with the really big business leaders within the region and in England, and basically gone, okay, tell us your problems, tell us what you did right, tell us what you've done wrong, where have you learned, do you know what I mean? It's like really stripping them down. So we've basically had a masterclass off of some of the best, and it's like we come out of that and go, you can learn a lot from that. We need to stop doing that. Well, no, we definitely do go,
that's great.
That, their product, that's our product over here, that's what we want to do with that, And that's where it's really good. It's fun. So we feel
it's
very
enriching
privileged.
all around. Yeah. It's definitely
Well,
an
it's
enriching
stimulating,
experience all around.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and how do people get in touch with you guys? I know you're exhibiting at the Chamber of Commerce B2B event
we're
in
doing B2B.
November, is that?
Yeah,
Is it November?
October.
October?
Yeah.
So I know you guys are there, but...
I think the best thing is phone call, email, connect with us on LinkedIn or have a
and
chat.
you're happy
messages.
to sit down and just chat and talk through people's issues and...
Yeah, we just really enjoy talking about businesses that are kind of in that state, because we get so kind of excited about what can be done with what can be done on next steps that can be taken with business. It's always good to...
Is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, allisflux.co.
Not .co.uk, just .co.
.co.uk will get you there as well, but it's just .co, yeah.
Okay. Trust you to be different.
Well, it's the cowboy boots.
No, it's the cowboy boots, yes. There's the warm milk and the cowboy boots.
There's no context around this.
Nobody's
going to know.
Everyone's just picturing like a...
Mind you, Aaron's in his shorts, I just noticed.
Yeah, sort of ripped off,
ripped shorts.
We definitely play up to certain elements of it. But,
so they can find you on the website.
Yes.
They can find you. Then a final couple of questions, because it's been fascinating in terms of... And I know you guys are quite young, aren't you, compared to me anyway. But if you were... Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger selves? What would be the key bit you would tell your younger self?
I think the big things are, I think for me, really identify what your... This is probably about business in general, but I think that is brand as well, which is really identify where you want to go. That can change, but just have a direction. Then go back and go, okay, what are the things that are going to get me there? And what are the problems that I'm facing now? And I think... The big thing for me, it always kind of comes down to, looking back, is Amy's from Sander. She sort of, we're really good friends with her, and she sort of definitely took me under her wing a couple of years ago and kind of taught me about sales and really sort of sales and marketing. Basically the same thing. And her big sort of lesson that I really took away from was like, you are equal to your customers, because don't. It sounds bad, but you want to find the right customer for you, and I think that is so important. And that's, you've got to figure out what things do you want in a customer, and it's like they value what you do. They're not always trying to crunch you down on price, or also, happy to have a chat with you. Like like have fun. Like we're chatting to a customer the other day, and he said every time I go out for a meeting, I always feel like we've had a good laugh. And that's really important to him. And that's really great, and that's really nice to kind of hear that. So don't spend the time trying to find people that you're not getting on with. Almost like
there's enough out there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's the big thing.
That's very good advice.
I think it should be your choice as much as their choice.
Yes.
And I think that's really important, because then that solves a lot of problems. Because if they do value what you do, they're willing to pay for you, and they're not trying to crunch you down on price every time.
You're on the same way.
You're not struggling and then resenting them. Yeah,
I think that's right, and I think it's not being scared of kind of the perception of how big a business can be, and not being able to speak to people. And if you always talk about it in terms of like it's just the guy behind the curtains kind of pulling the levers, really. Actually, once you peek behind that, you realise that all people have got the same problems, all got the same issues and worries. And my big thing, I wish I'd have done sooner. I mean, I kind of came at it from a slightly different angle. I pursued a career as an artist and painting, and one of the things that I struggled with that was the kind of the socialising and the networking elements of it. And it took me a while to in terms of when switching with a business focus, to actually get out there and network, and that's become one of my most enjoyable kind of things now.
Right,
and I'm actually kind of...
And you struggled with that initially?
Really struggled with it, because I think I was kind of worried about people in business, and they were big scary business people, and I'm just this guy trying to make it new in an industry, and
we're all people, though, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing to get over quickest for me, or I wish I'd have got over quicker, is actually just getting out there and talking to people and enjoying those relationships, because that's where, I mean, for the year and a half that we've kind of been together, that's where all our work and our success and our kind of progression has come from. It's just word of mouth, people talking and recommendations and referrals, and actually to get those, you need to speak to people.
Yeah.
Well, that's been brilliant, and I really appreciate your time, you two, and I'm sure we'll do a follow-up, because maybe in a year down the track when you're coming up for your 3rd anniversary. So you can find details of Michael and Aaron on allisflux.co, and there'll be contact details on there. And thanks very much for listening.